Good afternoon, good evening. Zanu PF would like the nation to believe that the decision or the demand that Emmerson Mnangagwa should remain as president to 2030 is coming from the people. It's the democratic will of the people of Zimbabwe. But I think we need to be a little wiser ourselves and ask the question, is it really a unanimous decision from the party members, much less from the people of Zimbabwe? Here is the party spokesperson, Chris Mnangagwa, making that outrageous claim that the decision to let Mnangagwa stay on until 2030 is a unanimous democratic decision from the party members.
The resolution number 1, which basically calls for the continuation of the president's term of office to 2030. It is a resolution which originated from the grassroots of the party. It came all the way through from the organs. It came all the way from the cells to the branches, to the districts, the inter-districts, and to the provinces, until it emerged as the unanimous all-round resolution of all the delegates who came here, not a dissenting voice. They call upon the president to say, you are doing a good work. You have turned around an economy which was in comatose. We had no currency. We were a pariah state. We were spending all our money on social welfare. Now the economy is vibrant. We are the fastest growing. We have sinews of the economy which point to the fact that the middle income goal status is achievable. This is why they want the president to continue, and they've called upon the president to continue. That's what they did. They called up upon the president. Of course, the president is a constitutionalist. He still sticks to the position that he will serve 2 terms, but it does not dispense with the wish of the democratic wish of the people that the president could serve or should serve longer than that. What becomes of it, we are going to make sure that all the constitutional aspects to make this resolution realizable are addressed. And this is the call by the conference. They not only passed the resolution, but they said mechanisms should be instituted to make sure that this resolution is realized. So this is the goal of the party. As to what will happen in 28, it's up to the president. It's his choice. He's a constitutionalist and he's a free man. He may want to comply with the resolution, or he may not want to comply with the resolution, but that is another thing because it's his choice. In any event, anyway, 2028 will always be on the calendar of God. The time will come to decide on that matter. For the time being, we have work to do, which is to deliver a vibrant economy which will make Zimbabwe the shining star of Africa. We are doing well on the African stage. We are doing well on the global stage. This president is delivering on all those aspects, ticking every box of virtues in terms of what he's doing for Zimbabwe. So let the man do his job. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, sure. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. This is just nonsense. Let's get the record right. Zanu PF has never held free, fair, and credible elections. Never. Ever since the country's independence in 1980. This is a party that believed that because it spearheaded the liberation war, they had the divine right to rule the country. And even from the first elections, they did not want to take any chances. And so their campaign message in 1980 was that if Zanu PF does not win the election, the Bush War would continue. The people of Zimbabwe voted to end the Bush War, or so they thought. Because in reality, as soon as Zanu PF got its feet under the desk, the party started planning its next move. How to force the only other party that posed a real serious challenge to its own hold on power, i.e. PF SAPO, to give up its independence as a separate political entity, and thus allow Zanu PF to declare a de facto one-party state. This Zanu PF SAPO was forced to do finally in 1987 after the 1983 to 1987 infamous Gukuraundi massacre. It was a massacre. There is no other word for it. This was a government declaring war on defenseless civilians for its own selfish political ends. And when PF SAPO signed the Unity Accord, Mugabe moved swiftly to impose a de facto one-party state. Zimbabwe has remained a de facto one-party state ever since. The nation has never held free, fair, and credible elections. The nearest the country ever got to holding free, fair, and credible elections was in 2008, when SADC, credit where credit is due, had put a lot of pressure on Zanu PF to implement meaningful democratic changes following the 2007 wanton violence against opposition leaders like Morgan Tsvangirai, Nelson Chamisa, and others. Zanu PF was forced to implement significant electoral changes, including the requirement that all votes should be counted at each polling station and the result posted outside the said polling station. This was the nearest the country was ever to get to free, fair, and credible elections. And as the results started trickling in, it was clear that Zanu PF was losing. It was Emerson Mnangagwa and Chiwenga who stepped in, stopped ZEC declaring the results, told Mugabe that he was going nowhere, he should stay where he is, and continued to tamper with the election results so that the opposition MDC ended up with a wafer-thin majority in parliament. But most significantly, whittling down Morgan Tsvangirai's 73% of the vote, according to Mugabe's own admission. to 47%, enough to force a runoff. And during the runoff, the two individuals, Mnangagwa and Chiwenga, saw to it that the people were punished for having dared to reject Zanu PF in the earlier vote. They called it Operation Mafia. Hundreds of thousands of people were beaten, raped, and all had their property destroyed. Millions were forced out of their homes and were internally displaced. And over 500, by some accounts, were murdered. This was all instigated by Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa and Constantino Chiwenga. The two individuals who were to be behind the 2007 military coup, which we now learn from people like Themba Mliswa, that Mnangagwa was the thinker and organizer, and businessmen Kwashi Takwirei bankrolled that activity. Chiwenga carried it out. He was the commander of the army, and he commanded the deployment of the soldiers who staged the 15th November 2017 military coup. There is no doubt that all this fuss about the ED2030 resolution number 1 is a reenactment of the events of 2017. We know that Mnangagwa has spent millions of dollars buying cars, bicycles, building houses for the few war veterans, whilst the rest of the war veterans were given bicycles for no other purpose than to bribe them. Because after the 2023 party resolution, Blessed Geza and a few other war veterans had come out in the open and dismissed the whole 2030 as bullshit. Mnangagwa panicked. And so the whole thing was put on the back burner while he went on a all-out campaign to win back the war veterans. Like I said, a number of them got cars. Some of them had houses built for them. But the overwhelming majority, all they ever got was a bicycle. And as we know, that has successfully silenced many of them. Then Mnangagwa is gone to bribe the army commanders. He has bought them 102 new vehicles, with the balance still to be delivered, to come to a total of 700. Senior leaders in the party also got a similar bribe. No doubt this was coming from Mnangagwa and his backers, the likes of the businessman Kulakwashe Tagwirei, who reportedly bankrolled the 2017 military coup. So all this euphoria about the people wanted Mnangagwa to stay on because he was performing very well is just nonsense. This is what happened in 2017, where a lot of money was spent to buy the commitment of party leaders and the members to the coup. And we are seeing the same thing being repeated again, in this case, to support this ED2030 nonsense. To be quite honest, it is impossible to say how anyone can honestly, in all honesty, believe that Mnangagwa has revived the nation's economy to the point where it will become an upper middle income nation by 2030. He took over in 2017. And now, 8 years down the line, the economy has not improved. People know that the education system is still all but collapsed. Health, the same thing. Many of the roads are in a deplorable state. The country is still facing load shedding. And worst of all, corruption has gone into overdrive. Mnangagwa is using the money he's getting from corruption to wage a double-edged campaign where he's buying Zanu PF loyal leaders to endorse his stay in power until 2030. And on the other hand, sponsoring a massive campaign to make people believe that the economy is improving, when in reality, nothing has changed. So I ask again, how many Zimbabweans or Zanu PF members to start with have freely endorsed this ED2030? I don't think there is many. And many of them have been bribed. The rest have been coerced. Zanu PF is not a forgiving party. Any of the members who have been found to be critical of the Agenda 2030 found themselves being pushed out of the party. As for the ordinary people, make no mistake about it. The majority of ordinary Zimbabweans out there, You are not going to be bribed. You are going to be coerced. The nearest thing you'll ever get to a bribe is the usual piece of chicken and chips. Otherwise, it's the usual coercion. And any opposition who decide to mount a concerted effort to end this ED 2030 know that they are risking their very lives. Mnangagwa is a tyrant, and he has been at the heart of Zanu PF. Serious human rights abuses, starting with the infamous Kukurawundi, to all the rigging of elections that have taken place ever since, the electoral coup of 2008, and the military coup of 2017. If anyone thinks that Mnangagwa would hesitate using brute force to stay in power, they are wrong. As far as he is concerned, his plan A, I believe, is to stay on until 2030. If he can pull that off, his plan B is that his progeny, Lakwashe Takwire, should take over from him. The people of Zimbabwe, forget it. You have no say whatsoever in that. The people of Zimbabwe have never had any democratic say in the governance of the country ever since the country gained its independence. That is a fact. Stopping Mnangagwa getting what he wants, particularly now that he has got his mafia ducks lined up. The looting of the nation's wealth has never been so bad as it is now. That has made him incredibly rich. That is a fact. And they've used that money to corrupt the country's institutions, including corrupting the opposition. So stopping Mnangagwa is not going to be a walk in the park. Let's get that very clear. The country had the opportunity to end the dictatorship during the 2008 to 2013 GNU. We wasted that opportunity. MDC leaders sold out. That is a historic fact. And ever since the GNU debacle, MDC leaders have conned the people of Zimbabwe to participate in flawed elections to give Zanu PF legitimacy and perpetuate the dictatorship. If anyone thinks that we are going to end the Zanu PF dictatorship with more of the same idiotic nonsense of having strategies of winning rigged elections, then we have not learned our lesson yet. Because that is not the solution. At least we should have the common sense to accept now that Chamisa is a liar and a conman. And stop wasting time believing some of his Bible verses, hashtag God is in it, and the usual idiotic nonsense of I will win the election because I've devised ways of stopping Zanu PF rigging the elections. Stopping Zanu PF's ED2030 is not going to be a walk in the park. And the starting point in our fight back is accepting that the nonsense of the opposition participating in flawed elections because they've devised ways of blocking or plugging this Zanu PF vote rigging loopholes is a nonsense the country can no longer afford. Think about it. Thank you very much. I hope you'll be able to join us again tomorrow, same time, 7 o'clock UK time, 8 o'clock Zimbabwean time.